Aloha! So today I'm going to be talking about my takeaways from our Intro to University Life class. If I were to sum this up into kind of a slogan, one or two liner, it would be that this class is an invitation to discover yourself and a challenge to master yourself. And not only that, but it shows you what you need to improve upon and then gives you all the tools you need to do so. So I really love that. And it's really focused around setting and pursuing smart goals in every area of our lives. And so kind of the overarching theme throughout this entire class was, what can we do to be successful and what does that even mean for us? And so I wanted to start with, it's a paraphrase of a quote in one of our assignments that I really liked. It says, every decision we make can have a positive and negative impact. Take advantage of every opportunity, big or small, to learn something. Use every tool, resource, connection, and ethical, moral, and legal means possible to prepare for this ever-changing world we live in. And we can definitely attest to the fact that this is an ever-changing world, especially with this past year or so. No one could have planned for the things that we've gone through and the things that we've experienced. It's been unprecedented, but that doesn't mean that we are stuck. That doesn't mean that we can't progress and that we can't set goals and develop skills that will help us to be successful in the future and even now. And so I wanted to focus on that first line in that little quote. It says, every decision we make can have a positive and negative impact. And especially at this time in our lives, we are faced with constant decisions. And really, our whole lives. We make decisions every single day in so many different areas of our lives. And some of the key areas of our lives that we have to make big decisions in are covered in this class, like financial, educational, personal, interpersonal, with our social relationships. And so I wanted to cover a few of the points that I really liked and some things that I kind of took away from each of those sections, and basically how I realized that the things that seem trivial to me now, just because of where I'm at in my life, can have a huge impact on me in the future and how I can make them matter today. So again, this goes back to goals. So I wanted to start with just personal and social communication and awareness, basically. It talks about, this class we talked a lot about discovering who we are, our emotional intelligence, our ability to recognize and manage the way that our emotions basically play a role in the way that we communicate with people, our behaviors, just who we are. And it talks about IQ and it talks about personality. I think that was the biggest thing for me, was personality. I've taken the 16 personalities test numerous times. And I read it and I go, that's so cool. And then I move on. Like, it's so much like me. And then I move on. And this taught me that this concept of personality is so much more than just a cool discovery. It can be such a good resource to help us understand how we communicate with people and how we can do better. It showed me that yes, my personality doesn't change. That's correct. And that is who I am. But just because that's my natural inclination or tendency doesn't mean that's the only way I can communicate and the only way that I can exist and operate. It just showed me basically these are the people that you communicate best with. You can still communicate with all of these other people. You just have to change a couple things because that's not as natural as it is with these people. And here's the way that you handle stress. That doesn't mean it's the only way to handle stress, but if you want to do better in these areas, you need to recognize what you're doing right now and what can be adjusted. It was just little things like that with personality and self-awareness that basically made me lay it out on the table and say, okay, this is who you are, and that's okay, but that's not the end. There's more. We can progress, we can do better, and here's how you can. And so I really loved that module and really the opportunity that I had to set goals and say, okay, here's what I want to accomplish. Here's what success looks to me. Here's why I care. And here's where I'm currently at in pursuing that success. And then the next step was self-management. Okay, now we know who we are. Now we know what we're lacking. What are we going to do next? How are we going to move forward? And that's where kind of those goals come in and pursuit of those goals. We got really specific, especially with the social side of things, and that was kind of the next part, social awareness and social management. And I really like this because I think they're so intertwined. A couple of the concepts I really liked were clearing away internal clutter and living in the moment so that I could basically, one, become a better listener, but two, become more aware and engaged in life around me, the things that I was experiencing. Because in my head, my mind is going a million miles a minute constantly. And so this showed me that that's okay, but you need to understand that that's happening so that when you need to turn it off, you have the tools that you need to say, oh, I know what's happening. Okay, let's turn it off because we need to be engaged. We need to be listening. We need this person to know that they're valued more than what's going on in my head right now. So I really liked that. And then another thing was the concept of asking for feedback. I really liked this because it introduces the idea of saying, I want to be better, but I don't see the whole picture. Yes, I've been trying to discover and become more aware of myself, but there are things that I think I see or that I think about myself that may be different from what other people are seeing and thinking. And so it is definitely worth considering asking for help, asking for opinions. What are my strengths and weaknesses? How do I contribute to our relationship? You know, what value do I add? What value could I be adding more of? And you know, how do I receive your feedback when you're talking to me? You know, little things like that. It really, again, allows you to be vulnerable, lay it out on the table, and show other people as well, see what they think. I think a quote that I really love is that revelation is scattered everywhere, or inspiration. And when we bring that revelation together, we can see more. I think that's such an important concept, to basically recruit all the people around us that know us, that can testify to, you know, the things that are good and can show us where we can do better, constructively criticize us, and that we can take it. I think it's important for us to learn how to take it, and this class teaches us things like that, skills and ways to do that. So I really liked kind of that section of our learning. A couple other things I wanted to cover were financial and educational, because these are huge. Financial is the one where I realized how many things should matter right now, and how many things I should be thinking about and investing in right now that aren't currently happening in my life. It talks about, again, mortgage, debt, student loans, credit cards, you know, retirement. And I'm not planning on retiring anytime soon, so it's hard for me to think about, you know, investing in that. But when we set goals and we learn how to manage a budget, even if it's a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly budget, whatever it may be, those are things that are preparing us to understand how to manage our money, to think about our money differently. And they reveal to us that there's a lot more that we can accomplish with our money if we think about it differently. I like the idea of the money mindset that's been talked about. There was a lady who talked about how she had money in savings, and this was kind of where I've been at. She had money in savings. She was happy it was there, and if they needed it for anything, it was there, and she was okay with that. But she didn't feel inspired or motivated by it because it didn't have a purpose. It wasn't being saved for anything specific. And so when she was pursuing buying a house, that savings started to become important, and it started to be a motivator and inspire her to budget better and to be more conscious of the way that she was spending her money and the way that she was budgeting. And when she would do things well, she'd have these little successes, like, I stuck to my budget, woohoo, that's great. And it was inspiring because it kind of created a snowball effect. She wanted to experience that feeling of accomplishment over and over again. And so she chose to do better over and over again. And I just thought that was really smart. I thought that was really awesome because, again, I have savings. I feel like I do a pretty good job with my money for the most part, but I have goals as well that cost money. And if I could just bring those two worlds together, I would be so much more intentional with my savings. And I think there are a whole lot more things that I think I'm not spending a lot of money on that I would realize I am spending a lot of money on, and I don't really need to. And so there were just a lot of things there that kind of just showed me that there's so much more to do, and that there are some things that seem trivial right now, but when we turn them into goals and things that matter right now, then we can accomplish things financially that we maybe couldn't before. Kind of my biggest takeaway from this was the concept that financial literacy doesn't just mean understanding concepts about money and about finances. You can't be financially literate until you actually experience and learn how to create and basically engage in good habits with your money that make you financially sound. So when you establish those habits and you're actually working toward goals, then you're starting to understand what makes money valuable and effective for you and what makes it work for you. And I think that's just so smart. Like it's not all about just learning how to do things, but it's really the experience and the doing things that makes you financially literate. And I think that can kind of play into just about any topic. The experience is what it really teaches, not just the textbook. So I really love that concept. And then just to finish up, the education side of things, this was really big for me because it is something that matters right now. I do not realize how bad I am at studying and how much more I can improve upon the things that I do with my time management and my prioritizing until I took this class. I think remote learning in general has just rocked my world. I had really good grades before. I kept a full scholarship, merit scholarship, all until the pandemic. Got maybe a couple semesters in before it's just been really difficult. And I realized that it was because although I was doing things that kept my grades up in my classes, I didn't have good habits that would help me manage my time well when I didn't have the same environment that I'd always known. And so it kind of pulled the rug out from under my feet, and this class said, hey, now that you're down on the ground, let's look at where you're at and why this happened. Here are some ways that you can improve. Instead of spending 6 hours reading 30 pages in a textbook and not getting anything out of it, let's simplify. Let's do the SQ3R concept, where you go through the main ideas, you ask questions, you seek the answers to those questions, you try to recall and remember those things, and really just review over and over again the different things that are the main points. And really one of the key hacks here, I guess you'd say, or tools that I really liked that I want to try was I'll use like a little note card to cover as much as I can, because I think that you don't need a whole lot of words when you're taking notes. And I'll usually just do the main points and the ideas. But the hack that they brought up was just putting like the page number of those topics, so that if you do need to go back and review the specific details, you can do that quickly because you know exactly where they're at. So efficient. It's not time consuming, it's not difficult to do, and yet it's an effective way to prepare yourself for when you need to study and to take notes without overwhelming yourself with a bunch of writing and so much time. So I mean, just there's like a plethora of resources. They're everywhere for improving the way we study, the way we read, the way we listen, the way we take notes. And this kind of created a foundation for me to go off of in my pursuit of being a better studier and reader and listener and note taker. I want to do better at those things. I want to manage my time better and prioritize better and learn how to manage, work-life balance, school-life balance, stress-life balance. Like, it can all work in together when you're working smarter and not harder, and this class teaches us how to do that. And so, again, kind of the main takeaway for me was there are some things in our lives, there are decisions in our lives that we're going to have to make every single day that can be not that big of a deal, or they can change the course of our future. And it's up to us to decide whether or not we want to do that, what we want our future to look like, why we care, and if we're willing to put in the work to make it happen. And if we are, this class is going to get us a great head start and really give us a good kickstart on doing that, creating that success. Doesn't matter if we're in a pandemic or if we're in the best economic state of our lives, the best anything in our lives. We can always improve. We can always continue to choose success. Make that the decision. And so I'm really grateful for this class and things I learned. I'm excited to continue pursuing these goals that we've set and that we've been discussing, and really create my own success. So, thank you.